Hey everybody, today we're going to take a look at two upcoming special elections to the U.S. House. We've got one in Rhode Island and we've got one in Utah. The primaries are going to be Tuesday, September 5th. The general elections will be in November, but these are both considered to be safe Democrat and safe Republican seats, so the primary is going to be where all the action is. So first, let's start in Rhode Island. Democrat David Cicilline, he was the Democrat here and he stepped down a few months ago, so there's a ton of Democrats vying for this seat. There's really so many that it's hard to keep track of. You can view them all right here, and there's not a slam dunk candidate that's going to run away with it. However, Aaron Regenberg, it looks like he's the front runner at this point, but with such a wide field, there's no guarantees. Regenberg is also the progressive candidate, so like with any outsider on either side in politics, they're going to get the attacks, they're going to get the smears, everybody's going to come after him. I didn't even know this, but he's also the nephew of U.S. Rep. Brad Schneider from Illinois, and he did run previously for lieutenant governor back in 2018. He narrowly lost that Democratic primary to current governor Dan McKee. So Regenberg the front runner, but take a look at all these names here. There's a ton declared, a bunch withdrawn, a bunch disqualified, and a bunch more that have declined. So maybe you're from Rhode Island, maybe you know all these different candidates, but to somebody that's not closely following it, having that many candidates does get a little bit confusing. So we do have endorsements here. You can scroll through these. The notable endorsement here for Aaron Regenberg is he's got the Bernie Sanders endorsement. He also has the AOC endorsement, as well as some others who would be considered progressives in Congress. And David Cicilline, he's declined to make an endorsement for this primary. Down here, we've got fundraising. Regenberg is leading all the other candidates, so the money is spread out. Nobody's even over $1 million. Now down here, we have the polling. There could be a new poll that drops right after I finish this video. This poll was sponsored by Gabe Amo's campaign. Aaron Regenberg is in the lead at 28%. Then Gabe Amo has 19, Sandra Cano and Sabina Matos tied at 11. There's 15% undecided. It would be nice to get a newer and better poll, but Regenberg is the front runner, but at only 28%, there's plenty that could happen in the last few days. Also, in a special election primary poll like this, they could just be missampling the electorate. So there's room for an upset, especially if more establishment candidates coalesce around one person just to make sure it's not Regenberg. That's definitely a possibility, so we'll see what happens. So this primary again is on September 5th. The general election will be on the normal general election day, along with everything else on November 7th. So how about the Republicans? Well, there's not really a lot to say about them because they pretty much have no chance at flipping this seat. So I'll scroll through it here. Feel free to pause it or look into any of these candidates if you'd like. There's only two of them. Down here we've got independent candidates, and this is rated as solid D by Inside Elections and Larry Sabato. Now, if you're wondering about this district, Rhode Island's first. Cook PVI has it as a D plus 12. There is some gerrymandering with this district. It does kind of cut through Providence. That makes it so Republicans have very little chance at either of the two districts in Rhode Island. But either way, Biden carried this district by almost 30 points in 2020, and David Cicilline won with 64% of the vote in the midterms. So Republicans, even if they wildly overperform, they're not going to overperform that much. And if you're interested in checking out the recent debate they had, I've got it right here. Of course, the link will be down below in the description. So the winner of that primary is all but guaranteed to win the general election. So let's move on to the next race. We've got Utah's 2nd congressional district. Again, that primary is going to be on the 5th, but apparently the general election will actually be on November 21st, not the normal day of November 7th. That I think is a waste. But anyway, the background about this seat is Republican Chris Stewart. He hasn't even resigned yet, but he's going to soon. And this seat is pretty much safe for the Republicans. So let's take a look at that primary. So we've got three candidates in the race. We've got Becky Edwards, Bruce Hoff, and Celeste Malloy. Becky Edwards, she ran for the U.S. Senate in 2022. She challenged Mike Lee in the primary. She got about 30% of the vote. She is viewed as the moderate candidate. Apparently, she voted for Joe Biden in 20. She's not a Trump fan. So this is going to be a notable race to watch to see if she actually could win. Now, the other two candidates, they would seem like they would be a better fit for a Republican seat. So let's go down here a little bit. There's a bunch of other candidates that are already out of the race or declined. As far as endorsements go, there's not many. Celeste Malloy does have the endorsement of Chris Stewart, the incumbent. As far as fundraising, Becky Edwards has a slight advantage, but the other two are right behind. We've got one poll from a few weeks ago. With 471 registered voters, Becky Edwards is in the lead at 32%. Bruce Hoff and Celeste Malloy are at 11 and 9% respectively. There's a huge chunk, 47%, that are undecided. So that's a little surprising to see Edwards with the advantage, but this poll's from a few weeks ago. A lot of voters start paying attention at the very end. This is anybody's race. Just like in Rhode Island, there's a front runner, but nobody's near 50 or even 40% of the vote, anything could happen. Now for this election, they did already hold a Republican convention. Celeste Malloy won that narrowly over Greg Hughes, but Bruce Hoff and Becky Edwards, they did gather enough signatures to qualify for the Republican primary ballot. That is a little confusing. I'm not a fan of that, but it is what it is. It's going to be those three Republicans facing off. And if Becky Edwards wins, I suspect that would be a major blow for the Republicans. If you're getting somebody out there that voted for Joe Biden and is considered so moderate that they're just going to be viewed as a Democrat or a rhino, that would be a major blow if Edwards was able to win. Of course, Democrats would love to see Edwards over the other two, but they also do have their own primary. There's one candidate, Kathleen Reeby. She's a state senator. She's the nominee for the Democrats. She's going to go up against whichever Republican wins this primary on the 5th. If we go all the way down, we've got United Utah Party, Libertarian Constitution Party, and independent candidates. But the predictions from Cook and Inside Elections have this as safe Republican. I would agree with that. And I know Utah does not really care for Trump Republicans. They're much more of an establishment Republican state. But still, this is a GOP primary. I don't see how you could get away with saying you voted for Joe Biden and still be able to win. Stranger things have happened. The issue might be with three candidates, there could be some vote splitting. Becky Edwards could squeak by if the other two split the remaining vote. I would rather see some sort of runoff than to see somebody become the nominee with only 35% of the vote. But again, it is what it is. Now, if you want more background about this district, here it is right here. This district, also gerrymandered, cuts into the blue vote in Salt Lake City, spreads it out, and Cook PVI has it at an R+11. It went to Trump by a 56-39 margin in 2020, and last time Chris Stewart won with almost 60% of the vote. So this is not as safe as the Rhode Island district, but it still should be easily over 10 points for whoever the winner is. And the last thing, just like the Rhode Island race, we've got a debate here. It actually only has two candidates. Becky Edwards was not a participant in this debate. That is disappointing. Maybe that'll cost her some support. Should be an interesting race, just like in Rhode Island. A couple of same-day primary special elections for the U.S. House. We'll see what happens. The general elections should not be exciting. So that is an overview of everything happening on the 5th. So let me know in the comments. Are you following either of these two races? Do you live in or near either of these districts? Who's going to win in Rhode Island? Who's going to win in Utah? Let me know down below. On your way out, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Join if you'd like to support the channel. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next video.